All right, welcome, guys. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go from bland to industry leading brand. If you are now tuned in, go ahead, put your flames in the chat, and also let us know where you're listening in from. As usual, we have a phenomenal show for you today. Before I get into the topic, I want to welcome on my co host, the king of branding, Mr. Sean Raiz.
All right. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Phenomenal morning. It's
Sure.
Monday, guys. I know it's a slow rise for you guys. That's why we wanted to put a little pause and delay on it. You know, give you time to go get your coffee and chai, whatever it is that you do in the morning. We about to get into it though. Big branding, big ideas. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Before we get into that, just want to give you the topic for today. So, the topic for today is actually brand story.
Mm.
Brand story. So, guys, we're going to be getting into it now. Many people always ask me every week, I get at least 2 to 5 people asking me about how do I write my brand story? How do I develop it? What do I put into it? What's the difference between a brand story and just a regular bio or regular about section?
Mm.
So, guys, we're gonna be getting into that. But if you're listening to this right now, I want you to put it in the comments, whether you're on IG, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. How many of you have constructed your brand story? How many of you have even thought about your brand story? It's a good question.
That's like
How
asking.
many of you know the importance of the brand story?
That's like asking for vision statements and mission statements, man. Very
It
few
is.
people. Very few people.
It is. It is. So, Sean, let's get right into it. What is brand story? What is a brand story?
Well, we did the mini course origin brand story. Your brand story is a story depicting your arrival. It's very simple. It's not as hard as people make it out to be. Your brand story is supposed to connect and resonate with your ideal audience. And it's supposed to make you a personal brand. It's supposed to connect you to your ideal audience. Sometimes you'll watch something on TV, a movie, and it'll connect. Like, for instance, the Black Panther Part 2. When Black Panther Part 2 comes on, it's remorse. It's remorse. It's a feeling of loss. It's somber. The energy is very, very, you can feel it. It's palatable. It's palpable. You can cut the tension with a knife because it's so dynamic. They're actually burying King T'Challa, right? But we also know that Chadwick Boseman actually passed away in real life. So the way they brought that movie on with his untimely passing and then his being buried or transported to the ancestors, that was an origin to the movie. So whatever happens after, you're locked in and your emotions are open. So a brand story is supposed to open the observer's emotion so that your product, service, or value can hit home.
I love that answer. I love that answer. That's a phenomenal answer, Sean. In marketing, we use the word affinity. So we call it affinity marketing. So, guys, that basically means you tell a story that have key connecting points to the audience.
Mm.
So let's say you're writing to a gentleman or a woman who went to university. So even with us, right? So dealing with professionals who want to develop businesses, the story might be, well, I also went to university. I also was a professional. I also went to corporate for 15 years. I also did this. I also did that. And now this is where I am. So you show a sort of like a before and after transformation based on key, what we call connecting points. And that's what I hear you talking about. I
Definitely.
also like the way that you mentioned the origin of the movie, starting at a place with heightened emotion,
That's right.
because that's also something that we do when we write brand stories as well.
There has to be an emotional connection. If there's no emotion, then there's no motion. Emotion causes motion. You want people to feel, you want people to purchase, you want people to lock in, you want them to pay attention. People have to pay attention before they pay you anything, right? We're gonna go to a break real quick. I wanted to shout out Kimberly Fallis on IG. She says that was on point. Great morning. We kind of just like cut to the break and got to the meat of it. Let's take a little break and give enough people enough time because it's still Monday morning. All right. So, guys, get your coffee, get your pens. We're gonna come back. We're gonna be talking about how you can craft a phenomenal brand story. Let's grow. I'm just a kid from Harlem who God chose to show his favor. Themselves while improving the lives of others. It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle. I said Sean Ra'is. I'm proud. I said Sean Ra'is. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Sean, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Let's get to it. So I got a comment here. Kimberly Fallis says, good question. She's asking, what's the good question? She says, my story was going from stuck to level up. Let's go. Stuck to level up, how I became a self-leader and CEO of my life and career. But now that my focus is in the roadmap to retirement in the corporate space. All right, so I need the question. Like, what is the question? That's a little bit more like a sentence. So guys, listen, if you have a question, put your question in the chat. Are you looking for, okay, how I became a self-leader and the CEO? Okay, so let me help you guys out real quick, right? Just because I don't know exactly what that question is, I just want to give you this. Your brand story, the way we teach it, there are salient points that take place from 0 to 7. 0 to 7. 7 to 14. 14 to 21. There's chunks. So if you look at your life as a personal brand and you pull out the pieces, what happened to you between 0 and 7? Was mom and dad there? Where did you live? What happened surrounding your birth? And then from 7 to 14, as you begin to interact with the adult world, did somebody drink? Was there a tragedy? Was there trauma? Did someone transition? What does that look like? From 7 to 14, that's adolescence. There's a lot there. And then from 14 to 21, so in those 7-year pieces, from 14 to 21, as you begin to emerge into adulthood, is college included? Is pregnancy included? Is transition included? And the answer to those are yes and maybe. So some things you may not have experienced, but the things that you did are going to resonate with your audience. I guarantee it. Why? Because we're all human and we're talking about the human experience. So when you say I was born in New York, as soon as I say that, there's a segment of the population that says, I was too. That sounds like me. When I say from 7 to 14, even before 14, from 0 to 7, my mother and father separated. So people, oh, that happened to me too. So I was raised by my mother for a long time. And then my mother and father came back together between 7 and 14. And it's like, oh, that resonates with me. I did the same thing. So we left New York and came back to New York. And people are like, oh, okay. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to come back and bring a family back together. And then from 7 to 21, when I say I made a lot of mistakes, I say I made a lot of mistakes. And what it does is it resonates with people because they made a lot of mistakes too. And then from 21 to 28 is transition. There was a lot of changes. There was a lot of decisions that were made that helped me. I became a father from 21 to 28, right? So I became a father. So the mantle was passed. I also lost my father before that. So in the 14 to 21 stage, I lost my father. In the 21 to 28 stage, I became a father. As soon as I say those things, people are like, boom, 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 right? So you're hitting people and you're touching people. So let me see. Kimberly Fallis says, will I have to change my story? Okay, great. So watch this, guys. She says, my story was going from stuck to level up. How I became a self-leader and CEO of my life and career. Hold on. How I changed my life and career. But now that my focus is in the roadmap to retirement in the corporate space. So watch this, Kimberly. Authenticity. That's why we say we have an authentic brand. When you tell your authentic truth, you help people level up with you, right? So you don't change your story. What you do is you add on to it. So you tell the stuck to level up story. And then as that story comes kind of to an end, it no longer ends, but it transitions into how you move into the corporate space. Then now there's another segment, there's another edition. So for me, I can speak to the 0 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, 21 to 28, right? Becoming a father, my wife settling down situation, going back to school. But now I get to actually tell the story of building a business. Before I didn't have that story. Now I have the story of building a business. Now I have the story of transitioning in business from a multiple 6 to a 7-figure earner and from an unknown man in corporate or professional to a very well-known brand in the online space. So yes, you add on to that.
Yeah, Sean, it sounds like you really you added onto it, but you added on by unpacking it.
Of course.
You added on by unpacking it. Just want to say a quick good morning to our people on Facebook. I wish I could see the name. I wish I could see the name.
We have
and
Pierre
see what we
Ingram
got
on
up.
IG.
Who do we have?
Pierre Ingram. Pierre Ingram came in. We have Kimberly Fallis as well as that's got to change into a personal brand. I've got A3TH Constructors Immobiliary. Yeah, you got to change that personal brand. I got to know who I'm talking to. Let's go. Come on, person. This is the era of the personal brand.
Yeah. You know, Sean, while I was listening to you, um, I heard you unpack the story and I heard different transitions.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of something we do in copywriting. So in copywriting, we have different story frameworks, right?
Yep.
And one of those we use is something called the ABT framework, which means the and, but, therefore. So and, but, therefore. So you could say something like, I'll give you an example. You could say something like, I grew up without a father and I made a lot of mistakes and I ended up in the wrong place, but I fell in love and I decided to change my commitments. Therefore, I decided to start a business so I could take care of my family. So it's very, and you know, most movies follow that same framework. So you have these big dramatic events happening, a series of events, so a lot of ands. Then you have something in the middle, but so there's a but something happened that stops the hero, right? Stops the
That's
journey, stops the hero, you know, derails them, sends them off track, and pushes them into a different space. And that's where you have the therefore. So because of the but, you have the therefore, you have to go in a different direction. So you have some inspiration, but so let's say you're building a business. But we know what happened in, let's say, look at 2020, look at what happened with our business, right? So I remember you. So you just graduated ETA.
That's right.
You were on your journey to speaking,
That's right.
and you had gotten all of the certifications, and you
And
started building a business,
that's
and
right.
you started getting clients, and you started getting contracts. But everybody knows what happened in 2020.
That's right.
Therefore, you decided to shift online. You see what I'm saying?
And now, right? So
Yeah. So then it continues again. Then the cycle starts
exactly.
again.
What is your story, guys? Put something in the chat. Like, put it in the chat. What is your story and how do you unpack that? Because if you don't have a story, then you don't have a brand. You don't have a brand. If you don't have a story, then you just have a product. Maybe. When you have a story, you resonate with people. So story equals people. People relate to stories. That's why everybody comes to the movies, guys. You don't have a box office blowout if you don't have a story. You've got to have a story. You've got to have a way to bring people in and to captivate the audience.
Right. Sean, let's talk about the elements of a brand story. So what makes a really good brand story in your opinion?
I will use the hero framework. I'll use the hero framework because that goes back from the very first stories, right? You have to have a hero. And this is where people get it twisted. This right here is people get it messed up from the beginning. Guys, listen, the hero is not you. You are not the hero. So the metaphorical purpose of having an origin brand story is not for your benefit. It's not for you to position yourself. This is why I'm the expert and be self-exalting. That's not the reason. The reason for the brand story is for the ideal client to see themselves in your story. It's an aha moment that will transform your business and add a zero. This is that add a zero moment. I need to get a little something that makes a sound. Bing! This is the add a zero moment. This is the add a zero moment. We're going to have an add a zero moment every time we speak. This is that add a zero moment. When you realize that your story is not about you. Your story is to include your ideal client so they can see themselves in your story. So number one, you need the hero. Number one, you need a hero. We stand in as the hero. We stand in as where we become the person that is switchable with the ideal client. As I tell my story, you'll understand. So number one, you have a hero. Hero has an aspiration. Hero has an aspiration. Hero has a goal. Hero has a dream, something they want to accomplish. This is the twilight stage, right? The violins are playing. Think about Kill Bill, when everybody was coming together and the woman was getting married and she's there and she's smiling and she got the big belly. Everybody's happy, everybody's joyous. It's a dream come true. It's the American dream, right? It's apple pie. And then the music drops, boom, and the villain comes in. So, hero, dream, villain, or problem. And we all know what happened in Kill Bill. Think about Batman and Bane. Everybody knows Batman's the hero. Bruce Wayne is the hero. And he's living the American dream. Playboy philanthropist. And then here comes Bane. Breaks Batman's back in half. Takes the American dream and crumbles it up in his hands and throws it towards the trash. Now, this is the pivotal moment. This is the real pivotal moment. So Batman snapped, his back is snapped. He's laying in the bed. He's in the dungeon. He's in the dungeon. He can't move. There was an old man. And the old man is the guru. The guru. So the old man starts to school Batman and tells Batman a story of how there was once a small child who was faced with a similar predicament. They were inside of the same dungeon and aspiring to get out. This was a child. Now, Batman can't stand, but he's telling the story of a child growing up in this prison dungeon-like situation. So Batman is reflecting. He's reflecting. And then he's inspired by the story. It's a true story. In the movie, they say, lift him up, up, lift him up, up. So now there's people around the child trying to get out of here. Lift him up, up. It's super emotional, right? I love them. That's why I remember it, because it's so emotional, so captivating. Lift him up, up, right? So the child, watch this, the child cuts the rope. So if the child doesn't make it to the jump, they die. If the child doesn't make it to the next ledge, jumping to get out of here, they die. So there's the guru, inspiration, and then the threat of expiration. So Kimberly Fowler says, what are the elements of the story? We've got the hero. We've got the dream. We've got the villain, Bane. I don't know what your villain is, guys. It could be bankruptcy. It could be, losing your home. It could be illiteracy. It could be family function. I don't know what the villain is, but there's a villain. And then there's inspiration. Say, okay, the guru. After the villain comes the guru. So the guru, you bump into someone that might be, one of the influencers that you're listening to, and you're like, ooh, okay, if they can do it and they did it this way and they went through the same thing, then maybe I can do it. So the guru gives you inspiration. There's inspiration. And there's the threat of expiration. So if you don't do it the right way, you're out of here. If you don't do it the right way, you're out of here. But then the hinge point is the blueprint. The blueprint. So the guru told Batman, you got to take the rope off. And that's crucial because there's so many times that he tried to jump, Junior, He tried to jump to the ledge and he had the rope tied on and he never made it. He never made it because he had a safety net, right? Every time he tried to jump, he kept banging against the wall, boom, 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 but he was able to live. Very important. Think about Napoleon. When Napoleon burnt the boats, they won the war. When Batman cut the rope, when you don't have a safety net, when you invest more than you've ever invested before, when you don't have $1 left, when there's no gas in the bank account, when if you don't make it, you die and all is lost, that's when you'll be successful. So Batman cuts the rope. There's no rope now. If he doesn't make it, he will die. And of course, like in every good story, there's anticipation and he jumps. If he doesn't make it, he dies. And he catches the ledge. And he lives. So after that, there is redemption. Redemption. And then success. I love the movie. I might watch it again just based on that. But that's the story. That's the story. So the parts to a brand story, your personal brand story, and in corporate, they do the same thing. They just use different examples. Instead of people and personal situations, they'll use history and historical situations, like the Great Depression. That's their threat. Like what happened in 2020, that's their threat. Massive turnover, that's the consecutive threat, right? Economic collapse. The guru, they bring in corporate executives, they bring in coaches, they bring in gurus to give them the information that will then inspire and change the spirit of the company. Hero, dream, villain. Guru, inspiration, threat of expiration, and then turning point, where if you don't make it, all is lost. Redemption and success. And that 10th part, that's your personal part. That story hasn't been told yet because you have to make it a reality, and we're all waiting for you to do it.
Yes, sir. Sean, we are due for a quick break, but guys, if you have any questions, go ahead, put them in the chat. We'll be answering questions when we come back. Stay tuned.
This is the one. Let's grow. You know, there's nothing that you cannot overcome in this world except that which you refuse to fight. When I say brand, when I say brand and authenticity and being the brand, you gotta know your story. You gotta know your story, you gotta own your story, and you gotta be the champion of your story. It's very important that we control our narrative. It's very important that we don't allow anyone else to control our narrative, because when they control our narrative, they control our freedom. They control our freedom and our future. I don't just want it for me, I want it for everybody. It can happen, and it can happen for you, especially when you get branded like a leader.
Business is like a game of chess. It's not checkers. If you don't know how to lead with a personal brand, then you're losing the battle.
Everything about Sean's talk was fantastic. I mean, I got so much from it.
So he was really bringing fire and passion and just love and spirit to let everybody else know how do you become a leader amongst the leaders.
You hold the key in your hand. There is more power in this phone than there was that took the first man to the moon.
His energy, his dynamic information, gave a really great presentation.
I didn't ask for any money. I didn't have an offer. I had a heart to help people.
and meet them where they were at and find their need and fulfill it.
Sean is the bomb.
I don't talk theory, I don't talk hyperbole, I don't talk opinion. Nothing I talk is anything but evidence-based.
During the G Circle retreat in Atlanta, I had the pleasure and the honor of listening to Mr. Sean Raiz. He will not only impact your organization, but he will elevate your team to another level.
When you change you, when you put you into the equation, the whole system is different. I guarantee you, you got the right thing. You are the right person. If you can present yourself in the best way possible, there's no negotiation.
His energy is infectious, and I have so many takeaways from the presentation that I can't wait to get started and implement them today to see the result.
You got the elements to the story. Yeah, I'm just speaking with Kimberly. Now you have the elements to the story. I hope you guys out there on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook have the elements to the story. Now you can begin to craft your story. I promise you, it's a Pulitzer Prize and a Golden Globe winner.
Definitely. One common question I always get asked is, what is the difference between a bio and a brand story? What would you say?
The bio has no emotion. The bio is statistical. It's statistics. It's short. It's a summary. It's a brief. The brand story can be elaborated on. You can do a 3-minute, 30-second. You can do a 3-hour, or you can do a 3-day presentation. You can do a 3-year. Like, your brand story doesn't change. It's the origin brand story. It's what they call the pathos, the ethos, and the logos of the brand. It is the actual life blood of the brand. So everybody, you know that story, you know that picture, you know the picture of Jeff Bezos in the small broken up office with the picture of Amazon. It's written like in crayon on the wall. That's the origin. That's the story. That's the story. He walked away from Wall Street. He began his own thing. He didn't have much. He had a wife that graduated Ivy League. And if he failed, right? Yeah, if he failed, it was over, like done. She said she believed in him. She said, go ahead. I believe in you. Take it. Take the money. Drive it home. Let's go. And he spoke to somebody. He spoke to a guru. He spoke to somebody about it, one of his mentors in Wall Street, and they gave him the inspiration, but they told him this, that it came with a warning. They said, don't just jump out there. Take a week. Take a week to think about it. Now, listen, guys, why do you think I know this story? Anyone who studies Amazon knows this story. Why do you think I know this story? I know this story because it resonates. Because I am an ideal proponent. I am a brand ambassador for Amazon. I love the story of the brand, love the story of the business, love the story of the individual and how he rose over. He noticed a trend. He threw all of his money into it, all of his heart into it, and sat in an office with Amazon crayon. Like it was written in crayon on the wall. And he started there. And he was able to take the brand to billions. Right now, you guys have a dream. You have an inspiration. If you're watching this at 7:40 on a Monday morning, on your way to work or whatever you're doing, you have a story. You have the dream. So you are the hero that has the dream. Your current reality is probably the villain. The lack of confidence is probably the villain. Whatever you've been told before or your inability to figure out how to do it, that's the lack of experience is the villain. But now all you need really is the guru. The person that can help you take your competence and turn it into confidence. The person that can help you put your pieces together and have clarity, because you can't have brand equity or brand development without brand clarity. And let me tell you about the clarity piece. The water can't read the bottle. The water can't read the wrapper. You can't read the wrapper from inside the bottle. The best you can do is guess and hope. And hope isn't a strategy.
100%. As I'm listening to you speak, I'm wondering, and I'm sure the people listening are wondering, what is the perspective that one uses when writing the story? Because it seems as if we're playing, or we can play two roles, or we play two roles at different points in time. So, for example, when you're going through it, you're the hero. So that's when you. So let's say you're building a business, you need a coach. The coach is the guru. You're the hero, right? In that circumstance. But once you go through the challenge, once you go through that turning point, once you find your gift. So there's a part in the hero's journey where the hero goes through some trials, tribulations, and they come around full circle and they come back to, we call it the regular world, or the plain world, with a newfound gift or ability, and they themselves become the guru. So it's almost like somebody who goes through, let's say, coaching like a leader. So you go through coaching like a leader. You don't know anything about coaching. You come through the program, you go through the program, you become a coach, and then you become a coach for somebody else. So you step into the role of a guru once you become the coach. And we had Bobby on it, I believe, last week, and that's the perfect example. So Bobby came in, right? We coached him, then he became the coach of somebody else. So he stepped into the role of the guru in that part of the journey. So when writing your hero's journey, or when writing your brand story, what perspective do you use? Do you use the perspective of you being the hero, or do you write from the perspective of you being the guru and you helping other people?
The beautiful thing is that you can take third-party perspective. You can take third party because you're the narrator. You're the narrator, you're the creator, you're the subject, and sometimes you're the teacher. One thing that Kimberly says, you're right. I need that GPS from a coach, right? So the GPS, the coach, helps you to become the coach. The speaker helps you to become the speaker. The author helps you to become the author. And then when you are in it, and you can see the third party perspective, the coach's perspective, the guru perspective, the consultant perspective, now you have the ability to look at it from different angles. Very important. You have to be able to see it from different angles, because when you can't describe what you can't see. That's why people are going through something and they don't know what to do, because they're like, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I feel stuck. Even though someone like me can come and say, you got a master's degree, man, you're not stuck. This is what you need to do. Connect this valve to this valve and the car will start, right? But I've been here before. I've been where you're at. So that's what gives me the experience GPS perspective, where it's like, oh, no, you just need to find your ideal audience, make a decision, really. That's all you need to do is make a decision. Who do you want to serve? And base your decision on your desired outcome. Are you trying to get to California? Are you trying to get to Long Island? Because if you're trying to get to California, it's going to take a lot more gas. If you're trying to get to Long Island, you just want to follow the I-95. It's super simple. But it's super simple because I've been there before and I've done that. If you're in it, then you're frozen, you're stuck. You're like, I don't believe this. This is the worst thing that ever happened. Somebody's going to die. I'm not going to, you feel terrible. You're super emotional, right? But watch this, to your answer, Junior. And I want you guys, if you're writing this down, please write this down. You want to use the term and the perspective that is multi-dimensional. Multi-dimensional. It's funny because they're illustrating this right now on Spider-Man. They're illustrating this with Spider-Man and the different dimensions and the multiverse, right? So in the multiverse, there's different Spider-Mans. And in the multiverse, Spider-Man is he's in different places in his growth. So in one place, he's a child. In one place, he's grown. In one place, he's old. In one place, he just got bit. Multi-dimensional. This is what I mean when I start talking about collapsing time. If you don't work through this, then it'll be hard for you to understand. And you'll be like, Sean, I don't know what he's talking about. But I want you to look at yourself as a white belt or someone who doesn't even have a belt. You're coming into a dojo for the first time. And I'm a grandmaster. the language that I'm going to use is foreign to you. The way that I sit is going to be extremely painful for you. And the things that you see the students doing is going to look like they're flying. It's going to look like they're defying air. So when I say something like a Bobby, came in and went from 0 to 100K, he made 100K last year. This month, he's going to do 100K. You're like, that can't be true. It defies all logic. When I tell you about Jalita Robinson and say Jalita Robinson works for a company, she didn't have to leave her organization. She learned one move. I taught her how to leverage. I taught her strategic deflection and leverage. One move, strategic deflection and leverage. We didn't have a lot of time, so I couldn't have taught her everything. She didn't learn the whole hero story. She learned strategic deflection and leverage. And she went back into her office and talked to her bosses about that and got the contract renegotiated and added a 0 to her bank account. She was already at 6 figures. Now she's at $250,000. And she never had to leave the organization. It sounds impossible. It sounds impossible. It defies logic. But watch this. When you are the hero starting out, that's the only perspective that you can tell. However, when you go through the hard part, the nightmare, when you go through the nightmare, now you can tell the nightmare from the perspective of someone who went through the nightmare. So you're not the hero now. Now you're the victim. When you meet the guru, when you begin to get coaching, when you begin to enter an ecosystem, now you can tell that perspective. And you can literally like go live and be like, hey guys, I'm striving, this is my story. I'm right here right now. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but stick around, strive. You can make it. Now you become inspirational, right? Now you become inspirational. And then when you get on the other side of it and you begin to make money, get clients, build your business, build your brand, now you can tell it from that perspective. And when you can tell it from that perspective, when you've gone through this cycle, you have an eagle's eye view. So now that you have an eagle's eye view, you can use your origin brand story to illustrate the entire trip for someone else. And like myself, I can say, I remember when I started. I remember when I was 14 and I didn't have a clue. And our coaches and gurus were the older people on the corner. And we had 3 outs where I come from. Those 3 outs were the microphone, rapping, a basketball, bouncing and dribbling, or illegal trade and trapping. That was it. There was no fourth alternative for me. It took me 20 years added on to that 14 for me to say, wow, there's a whole nother perspective. And that was school. Why? Because I had to meet someone else. I had to come into contact with the guru. Before that, if you'd have met me, I didn't have the story for you. I couldn't have told you that. But when I met the guru and I saw, oh, wow, okay, you can come from the hood and you can actually do good. You can actually do good. And then I ran into other people in this space and I said, oh, wow, not only can you do good from the hood, but you can own your own business and you can speak on stage and you can travel and you can consult with organizations and you can get degrees. I said, come on, let's go. You understand? So now I can look back with the eagle's eye perspective and tell you the whole trip and exactly what it takes, what you need in your car, what you need to get out of your car, what you need to get into your psychology, what you need to get out of your psychology, the people that you need around you, the people that you need to discard if you want to get to the promised land.
100%. Sean, let's talk about branded like a leader and how exactly branded like a leader helps people to tell that story.
Well, it helps you realize that you're in the story first, right? It tells you you don't know where you're at right now. You're lost. Right now, most people are lost. They don't have a clue. They're trying to do something. And I know that they're lost because when I ask them a question and say, how are you marketing? How are you positioning your brand? How are you attracting clients? All they say is I post. If all you can say is I be posting or I post, you're lost. If you're not making more than 10K a month, easy, you're lost. But watch this. If you've been stuck at 30K a month for more than 6 months, you're lost. If you've been stuck at 50K a month, between 50 and 60, and you can't get to 75, you're lost. If you haven't made it to if you haven't experienced a 6-figure month, but you've been in business for 2 years, you are lost. But you need someone who's been there before, done that, found their way out of that, done that multiple times. I tell people all the time now, Junior, I said, we're like the Sherpas. We're like the Sherpas. People come to, they come to the bottom of Mount Kilimanjaro and they're like, this is their dream. This is their ambition for life. But from a Sherpa's perspective, it's just Monday morning. We're going to take you to the top. We're going to take you to the top. And when we get you to the top, when you start doing what Bobby's doing, when you start doing what Jalita's doing, you're going to roll around on the floor. You're going to cry. It's going to be super emotional. You're going to be reborn. You're going to die and then be reborn a phoenix. And set yourself on fire and, burn to ash and be reborn as a firebird. But for us, it'll be another Thursday because this is what we do regularly. And this is why people say, well, when does coaching end? Whew. Coaching ends when you want growth to end. It never ends. And this is what Junior was talking about when he said you turn into the coach and then you bring people. The best way to stay in shape, the best way to keep growing your business, the best way to build yourself is by building others. So people say, Sean, why do you do this all the time? Why are you doing all this stuff for free? Why are you going live? Why are you doing all this stuff? Like, you don't have to do this. You're right. I don't have to. Technically, strategically, I know that I do. And it's not so much for me as it is for you. I have to keep pouring into you so you can keep giving me feedback. So right now, Kimberly Fowler says, we ready to grow. Yes, you right. I need that GPS. She's like, that's awesome. That's feedback letting me know that it still works. It's still strong. So watch this. People say, Sean, why do you run all the time? So I literally was on the treadmill just now in the morning. Why? Because you don't want to lose it. You don't want to lose it. And the only way you can keep it is by giving it away. And that's a mindset shift. That's a paradigm shift. And I tell you guys all the time, serve, 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 and you'll get what you deserve. But you'll never know that until you get to the top. You understand? Before you get to the top, you got a scarcity mentality. Before you get to the top, you got a scarcity mentality. And you're like, well, if I give this much away, then I'm not going to have this. And I don't want to give everything away because if I give it all away, they're not going to pay for it. And you have no clue. You are an endless reservoir of value. You are an endless reservoir of value. And that's why we say add a zero. But before you can add a zero to your number, you have to add a zero to you. And that's what Branded Like a Leader does. Branded Like a Leader helps you to add a zero to you so that you can see your value. When Jalita came in, I just had my perspective and she had her perspective. Her perspective may have been a hawk's perspective. She was a beast. She was doing what she was doing. She's a professional, multiple degrees, already at 6 figures. Super professional. Guys, you have the experience, education, and expertise, but you don't have the eagle's eye perspective. You have a hawk's perspective. So you're flying at a certain level. You're flying, you're making money, you're doing your thing. You got a family, you've succeeded, you're driving, you're living, you might probably own your own home. But eagles fly with eagles and hawks fly with hawks. And if you want to come up here, then you got to get out of there. You invest up. You invest up. A lot of people invest laterally. They invest in people that they can see over here, or they invest in people that they can see down there. Very few people invest up to things or stay there. That's the problem. People might try to invest up, but they really realize what it takes and the person they have to become and how much it requires to stay at that altitude, and they drop back down. They drop back down because they don't understand what it takes. You got to build your muscle to stay up here. You got to build your resilience to stay up here. You got to build more than a brand. You got to build core skills to stay up here. Speaking, coaching, consulting, marketing, closing. These are skills. So it takes time to stay up here. It doesn't take 90 days to stay up here. People are like, okay, well, I'll jump in real quick and I'll make $1 million. No, you won't. You'll spend $30,000 and make yourself sick because it takes more than you think it does to stay up here. You're thinking, well, it only took me this much time to get here, so it must take me the same amount of time to get here. And then someone like me tells you, oh, no, I don't work with people for less than a year. And realistically, it'll probably cost you $100,000. And they're like, what does that mean? Right? So branded like a leader compresses that process. It compresses that process. It packages that process. It unpacks your process and gives you the fast forward version so that you're able to collapse your yearly income into monthly income, your monthly income into weekly income, and your weekly income into daily income, and go from $30,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year to $30,000, $40,000, $60,000 a month, $5,000 a month to $5,000 a week, and a lot more, and $5,000 or $10,000 a week or a month to $5,000 or $10,000 a day. And for people to shift their minds like that, it's like they have to come into an ecosystem, and that's the ecosystem that Branded Like a Leader is. That's what we do inside of Branded Like a Leader. Teach you how to change your attire to match your desire. Teach you how to set your sights on higher things. Teach you how to breathe at this altitude.
Yes, sir. Guys, we're about to sign off. This has been a phenomenal show, but I just want to point out the link down below. So if you want to learn more about branding yourself, packaging your expertise, then go to www.livedeepdive.com to join us this Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yes, ma'am. So Kimberly says the more you give, the more they want to know, and we'll keep coming back. She said, I make it so clear. So for the fast action takers, right? For the people that don't want to hear more, for the people that just want to move forward, there's some people that want to hear more. There's some people that are unsure because they're stuck and they can't see and they don't have confidence in themselves, right? But there are some people that don't want to be stuck and they want to go straight from the car to the plane. If you want to go straight from the car that's not moving to the plane that is and can see from up here, then go to brandedlikealeader.com. I'm a fast action taker. That's why we were able to do what we did in such a short amount of time, because I didn't want to hear more. I saw it. I said, that's what I want. And I paid for it. Right. So if you're that kind of person, then brandedlikealeader.com will take you there. That'll put you inside the community. That'll put you inside the group. That'll put you inside the course. You'll be there. It'll be fun. You'll have a ball and you'll also make a ton of money. Trust me. Clients are changing their lives. They're not changing just their narrative or their story. They're changing their lives and they're changing the lives of the people around them inside of their home, and they're changing the community that they live in because they produce more money. They're able to pay more taxes. They're able to buy a bigger house in a better community, buy a better car. They're sowing into the economy. They're sowing into the economy and they're becoming servant leaders, not just servants of their community or servants of their spouses or servants of their family, but they're becoming stewards of the communities and the neighborhoods and the world that they live in. We don't live in an exo-dependent reality. We live in an independent reality. So my success depends on you and your success depends on me. We are interdependent. We are correlated. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Their mindset is one of lack, not abundance, and their mindset is one of fear and not of fury and passion and purpose and value. But if you're that person that's listening who says, I've heard enough, I don't want to hear more, I'm ready to move fast, and you want to fast forward the process, that's brandedlikealeader.com.
Yes, guys, thank you so much. This has been Breakfast with the Brand. Have a phenomenal day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
I'm going to put on something for you real quick. I want you guys to watch this and think about what I say. Think about what I say before we close out, right? I want you to watch this. What you're looking at right now is the new face of leadership. I chose to go the route of SOE, standards of excellence. So I help people put zeros behind their numbers. I help people move up in or out of their organization and get paid their annual income monthly, their monthly income weekly and their weekly income daily. I promise you, if you follow me at all, you're gonna wanna use something to write with. CSA first, CSA. Clarify, simplify, and amplify. Clarify, simplify, and amplify. It starts with a decision. Who do you wanna be and what do you wanna do? Who do you wanna be? You have to define that. If you don't know, then it's vague and it'll never be clear. The problem that we have is clarity. We walk into an organization happy to be there, happy that they accepted us, but we don't have a clear goal. That's why people stay in the same organization year after year after year, go to the same vacation spots with the same people and talk the same amount of nonsense around the same water cooler. So when I go into an organization and someone says they've been here for 20 years and they're still around $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, I'm like, whew, it's chilly. It's a little bit cold when I know that all it takes for you to raise your prices, whether it's inside or outside of an organization, is self-belief and dedication. Brand you and not what you do. So when I meet people, I ask people, tell me a little bit about yourself, and they immediately tell me what they do. That's not who you are. Branding is who you are. Marketing is how people find out about you. So when you say, I'm a photographer, you just lumped yourself in with a million other photographers. What's special about you? Why should I work with you? I don't need a hand with a camera. I need a man with a story. A woman with a goal, a vision. Someone with an idea of what they want to be and who they want to impact in their lives. That's what moves me. We know where we belong, whether we're in that seat or not. We heard the word legacy and we were pulled to come. I flew in last minute. Let's go. Leadership, legacy, love. Whew, I gotta be there. So what happens in marketing is when you say, I am you put yourself in what we call a red sea. You're now fighting against a million competitors with a million different things. Clarify. Who are you? What do you stand for? And then simplify it. Don't make it 10 things. Bruce Lee said, I do not fear the man who has thrown 10,000 kicks. He says, I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. You can have the most mouth-watering steak that the world has ever seen, but if you try to position it or place it in a vegan neighborhood, you make no money. Who are you trying to market to? Sometimes we don't support each other. Sometimes you got to go outside of your community, outside of your neighborhood, outside of your phone book to find someone who will support you. So if your business is hurting, think about the place that you're trying to move, whatever it is that you're moving, and the people that you're trying to sell to. You want to become the OVO. The OVO is the only viable option in your vertical. The only viable option in your vertical. We're not here for competition. We're here for domination. We're here for domination. Period. And if you feel differently, you're probably in the wrong room. Is anybody ready for the fifth one? Are you ready for the fifth one? Might want to capture this. Might want to capture this. For God's sakes, man, your prices. Your prices. We should stand out because of price. Some people look for the lowest price. You're making a big mistake because you're defining yourself. Your success comes from mindset and perception. If you're competing over the lowest price, there's a problem. Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands. Train people. I'm going to leave you with this. We train people how to treat us when we meet us based on how we treat ourselves. Brand you and not what you do. Thank you.